It's a credible claim in the sense that Islamic State rarely claims attacks that it doesn't actually carry out. And I would also argue that going back quite a number of years, Islamic State has had Russia in its crosshairs. Russia's support for Iran, its support for Assad in Syria, the Russian campaign, military campaign against Islamic State fighters in Syria, the fact that you have had the Wagner Group, of course, the Russian mercenary force, operating in parts of Africa where it has also targeted Islamic State fighters, and also more relatively recently, Russia's perceived support for the Taliban in Afghanistan, which is a bitter rival of Islamic State. All of this, I think, makes for a compelling argument for why Islamic State would indeed want to go after Russian targets. Let's remember that it was only some weeks back that Islamic State Khorasan was complicit in a major attack in Iran. ISK has also been complicit in a number of other attacks. Quite a few of them were foiled in Europe as well as the Middle East, a series of attacks we're talking about here. So my view is that all fingers should point to Islamic State. There's really no other logical actor, I think, that could be, again, could have both the will and the capacity to do something like this.
I think that the Islamic State has identified gaps in Russia's security apparatus, which is stretched thin with its campaigns in Africa, the intense war of attrition, full-blown conventional war in Ukraine, and essentially the degradation of Russia's counterterrorism capabilities. These are forces that would normally be allocated to deal with domestic security issues, counterterrorism, in supporting law enforcement.
Expand resources for the war effort, using this at least indirectly as additional justification. Well, and inevitably, the buck should stop there at Putin's desk, particularly when the warnings were made by the United States privately and publicly on March 7th, pointing very specifically to an attack on a public venue of this kind. So this can only be described as a failure for Putin, all the more so when his initial reaction to the March 7 warning was to accuse the U.S. of blackmail and claiming this was a fabrication. Russians may no longer have the opportunity to ask why this could have happened in a public way, but they'll be asking themselves around the kitchen table, how can our great president have allowed this to happen?